Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just give a 20-minute talk. It's not very much time to cover a wide range of subjects, but this conference theme of coexistence of humanity, technology, and great hope for the future. I made a point that the coexistence part has always been there. Technology, changing technology has been an integral part of our human history. And I used examples of how people felt about it during the Industrial Revolution. Today, obviously, we have a wave of innovations that is affecting the way we think, where we live in our society, right? So when you think about the benefit for human being and humanity, societal well-being, I think about three dimensions. Physical, basic, what's good for your body, what's good for your mind, the mental, and then what's good for your soul. And out of those three things, I touched on three somewhat complex subjects, which I will describe. The first is next wave of networking called somatic network. We see sensors are spreading everywhere, right? You have monitors in your traffic intersections. You have sensors in your automobile. You have sensors around home, your appliances. Our body is next. It's coming. And imagine what would be like to having lots of sensors going around your body that give you a better awareness about your physical conditions, similar to how our automobiles have had about its conditions over the past few years. It's coming. Think about that, what it means. Second issue is, we are living in a hyper-connected world. And in the hyper-connected world, that what we need is, personalized, services, because information-rich-driven society, there's just too much information. So we need to make sense out of all the information in the right context that is designed for you, network of one. So when you want the personalized service, it actually where you sacrifice your privacy, right? Because the network will know, the data you provided, and it actually do more than that. It profiles you, and profile your behavior, your buying habit, your area of interest, knows about you more than you know about yourself. So you lose your privacy, and we as a human, the privacy is very important. More precisely, we need to figure out a way to give privacy control. I suggest in my talk a use of metadata as a way to perhaps discuss it. There are other ways, but we need to overcome this issue. Otherwise, we will have a very difficult time making forward progress. And finally, that to ensure that we have a better future, we need modern technology to make that happen. Technology is a double-edged sword. The one side that leads to improving quality of our living, and the other side that leads to devastation. But the point that I wanted to make was that the impact zone of the newer technology is getting bigger and bigger. Never in history have we had the opportunity to have a technology to improve quality of our lives so much. And never in history we are facing a situation where technology can lead to major harm to our society. So think about that. One bad person who are smart and net savvy, with all the power of knowledge that is available on the network, what that person can do to harm the society. Obviously, we're not going to be able to eliminate those bad actors, but what we need is the ethics of technology to be educated for the young generations. What we need is a framework of integrating ethics as part of our global technology policies in order to combat those bad actors. Yeah, so I asked the same question to CEO who asked me to lead corporate strategy. Why me? And after deep soul-searching discussion, we have agreed what the competitive advantage our company has is a global brain, Bell Labs. We are multinational, where we hire the best and brightest from all over the world, and that is our a major differentiation. Therefore, technology innovation is a key strategic weapon of choice for our company. Therefore, he felt that having somebody who is leading technology should also think about how you translate into business strategy. In business, people normally talk about three axes that we need to excel. Operational efficiency, technical innovations, and customer intimacy. clearly you need all those three, but it's impossible to do all three simultaneously. You know, the conflict exists. For instance, when customer asks you to create something, you know, it's a big customer. If you have a customer intimacy organizations, you do it. But if you are technology-oriented organizations, you ask yourself, is that the best use of the money? If you are organizations that is driven by operational efficiency, mainly a commodity product where price is very sensitive, then you want to have a maximum operation efficiency. But if you are creative organizations like Bell Labs and Alcatel-Lucent, we need the inefficiencies, because if you are 100% efficient, then there is no room for innovation. So it's a trade-off, and it's a prioritization, and it's also a thoughtful choice based on the logic that I've just outlined. So, you know, to me, it doesn't, you know, it goes hands and gloves. So let me answer the second question first. If you really look at the secret sauce for Bell Labs, there are two things that I can articulate. One is the quality of people. You know, if you hire the best and brightest, you know, regardless of background, and then mix them together and automatically interact, good things happens. And that's the recipe that many organizations haven't quite figured that out. They try to enforce that artificially rather than naturally, right? So it's much more difficult to practice rather than, you know, understanding theory. So my CTO is got a PhD in chemistry, for instance, from Harvard, you know, but he's the networking expert. The guy who invented Unix and C operating system was a physicist, you know, went to computer engineering. So you see a number of examples where, you know, a different background does just matter. And then we have a office environment where, you know, people from different background just scattered, sit next to each other. So, you know, a group of experts in some area doesn't gather together in certain areas and so on. So natural intermix, that's one. And the second is how we measure ourselves. You know, most research organizations measure themselves by, you know, achieving objectives they set up based on what they see as a futuristic scenario. We measure ourselves by actually surprising ourselves every year. Because great ideas, you have no idea where it's going to come. So we don't set the objectives. Because if you set the objectives, you're going to gain it, you're going to clearly achieve it, smart people, but that's it. It only going to lead to incremental innovations, you know, disruptive innovations. Your first question is a little more complex, right? You know, it's a technology affecting our society, you know, us as individuals and society as a whole. But remember, technology is amoral. It's not it's such a tool that we invented. One thing for sure is that we cannot prevent invention from happening. People will do it. So where you need to focus on, where we need to focus on is, you know, how do we use technology for the better, not for the worse? It's always a double-edged sword. And, you know, ever since the invention of fire, you know, that has been the case. So this, my emphasis on teaching ethics of technology is really maybe beginning of the dialogue that will lead to some practical solutions going forward. Yes, you are absolutely right. It's becoming extremely uncomfortable when your personal information gets available in the net because they just profiles you, you know, or physically it actually invades you in your body. And the way things will work out, I believe, in terms of a somatic network, it's not that we're going to wire ourselves to make us feel better. It's going to probably develop specific implants or sensors that to treat particular disease. And then that particular technology will be broadened for other uses. That's always been the case. Spoke with many of my physician friends, and that's what they believe, how that's going to evolve.